Revenge is a dish best served Kole Calhoun, that is.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So the Guardians won the trade deadline, right? They got Kole Calhoun and shipped out Ahmed Rosario, and they're the winners. Welcome to today's show. We have Justin over
Nothing to talk
here.
about.
I finally got it right. I pointed in the right direction. I just remembered it's the opposite way of what I think.
You went back to school, so you know your left and right. That's good. It's what you learn in school, right?
I got readjusting to the school schedule. We'll see how many mistakes I make today. If we had an editor back watching, we'd put a little counter in the corner and just let it go up. I'm probably going to call them the Indians at least once in my state. But the important thing is we need to go through and knock this out so we can go watch Ahsoka afterwards. Because while this was a very exciting game,
it's a Star Wars debut day.
Star Wars. I mean, I've got the old stadiums blocking the X-wing, and I've got the lightsaber down there. You know, it's going to be a fun time. But it is appropriate that the Force was fully with the Guardians offense today. Before we dive in, I warned Justin I was going to ask him a few questions at the top of the show. For one of our everydayers out there. I know quiz show is your favorite, so maybe skip ahead a minute or two.
I was a bad test taker in high school, Jeff. Okay.
So, but here's
better
my first
in college,
question.
But I was okay.
My first question for you is: with the current Guardians team, how many pitchers have an ERA over 4? I think we all agree under 4 is a fantastic ERA. So, how many pitchers on this current team have that ERA over 4? Have ones that would be considered, above average to poor?
Are we talking every pitcher on the 26-man roster right now? All 13?
Right now, yes.
Okay, so Noah Syndergaard, I know. Sam Henches, and is that it?
Tim Herron, but that's it. Yeah, everyone else.
Yeah, Tim Herron.
The next worst ERA on this team, I believe, is Nick Sandlin at 3.66. Bybee's at 3.01, Williams at 3.02. Allen at 3.33. De Los Santos, for all the struggles, is at 3.14. Curry at 3.24.
Right, because they give up their runs in like small doses, and then they spread them out.
But it is a for as much as we all fixate because they do blow up at inopportune moments. That can also just be the bad luck and the weirdness of a pen. So I just wanted to go back to a lot of people responding positively to yesterday's chat about like being level-headed, and I mean even Karen Chalk's got a 3.6 ERA.
Sure. Yeah. Everything is coming up rosy tonight because of the Guardians win. Obviously, they won the trade deadline. Noah Syndergaard, key contributor. Kole Calhoun, key contributor. Ahmed Rosario didn't do anything to hurt them.
No, it's more just to say, like, maybe, some of that luck balances out in a year. It's not as bad as we think. And my other question to you is, I know we had a home run tonight.
Just one?
Just one? Just one for Oscar Gonzalez. Would you rather see Oscar Gonzalez in this lineup every day or Jonathan Rodriguez?
I'd rather see Manny Ramirez in this lineup. I talked about that over the weekend. I have to choose between those two?
Yes.
I guess give me Jonathan Rodriguez.
I like drink my eggnog infused drink.
Ugh. And your I hate Will Smith cup. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess Jonathan Rodriguez. So I'm forced to choose. I think we know what Oscar is, and it's the same approach, and you're going to get more strikeouts out of Rodriguez, but he might draw some walks too. Or Oscar doesn't walk, and Jonathan might, so that might give him a better shot. But not right now. Not right now.
Who's the better defender?
You.
Is it close?
You.
It's not me.
You are the better defender. Your cup of eggnog has more range than both of them.
I might have range, but I got a wet noodle arm.
That's the only thing those two have is that their arms are fantastic. But
I got good reads, but I'm not very fast, and my arm is terrible. So that's why I had to get good reads. Sometimes that's the case. If you can't run fast and your arm isn't strong, you learn quickly how to get a good break, or you're not playing.
I played first base and catcher for a reason.
I was quarter outfield for a reason. because they put the best athletes on the infield for the most part.
Put the best
going back
to DH, right?
Yeah. Going back to this game though, because I know people will get upset because this was a fun one. I mean, would you get into this game and they're down 3-2 in the getting into the 7th inning? We've kind of been like, oh, it's over. This team can't get runs to save their life.
They're down 3-0 in the 3rd inning, and it was like, okay, well, there that goes. Especially Bobby Miller was on fire to start the game, and he was on fire most of the time. I mean, that 3-run homer, kind of did him in. I'm sorry, the 3-run homer didn't come off him. That was Oscar's home run, but
yeah, it was his was. Did he get no?
No, he got the Oscar home run. Caleb Ferguson gave Kole Calhoun's home run tonight.
Yeah,
he was great until the last inning, and they forced him out. I think Bo Naylor's walk pushed him out of the game. Will Brennan had 2 hits off of him that. He had good at bats, 2 scorchers there. But
everyone
through the first 6 innings, I mean, Bobby Miller was ridiculous.
They go a 3-game series and don't get 12 hits for the entire series. They had 12 in this one.
They may not get 12 the next 2 nights combined.
I would bet
although
on that.
With Bobby Miller, like I didn't think that I for sure thought Bobby Miller was going to no-hit him. I mean, he was throwing his curveball for strikes. He was painting the black with his fastball. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Bobby Miller is a future all-star, and
I mean, I just thought it was going to get out of hand. It's like they couldn't hold a base runner. Bobby Miller,
3 steals right away.
Bobby Miller, as you said, was just lighting the lineup up. We know it is a high-powered offense. When they give up another first inning home run, can we just skip the first inning? Can we just skip first innings because that's been the killer of late? But it just felt bad, and then I was just sitting there like kind of in disbelief because I wasn't able to get most of this game going. I had to watch it through the game day app because the video every time I would click on it wouldn't load. So it was a little bit annoying in that regard. I could then go back and watch highlights and I'll watch the full game later, but I had to kind of watch it slowly unfold. So it was annoying in that sense, but maybe I need to do that for every game is the takeaway.
Yeah. Syndergaard really settled down. I mean, after that first inning, he came back out and he was good. He got some swings and misses on the changeups. I think he had like 4 there. Bobby Miller had 20 swings and misses tonight, by the way. He missed 20 bats in that outing. He only struck out 5, which is amazing. The Guardians struck out 7 times overall. I really thought for sure he was going to strike more batters out than that, and it certainly looked like he deserved to. When you swing and miss 20 times out of 60 swings, that is a pretty high whiff rate, and he only had 5 strikeouts. So I don't know. I guess the Guardians, they finally, I mean, all 8 runs came on 2 outs, I believe. At least 7 of the 8 did. So
I do
totally sustainable, obviously.
I want to point out for everydayer Zach Fino MVP, if he would talk about last year how it never failed that I talk badly about how someone didn't deserve to be a major leaguer, and then they'd perform really well. Like I'm blanking on the shortstop for the Twins, who was a shortstop for the Reds, and just every single time.
Or Cal Farmer?
Yes. And I would just go on these rants about guys, and then they would keep performing. Cole Calhoun's not got the highest weighted runs created plus on this team. I still
the highest OPS now.
I still think it's a waste of at bats, and I'm going to keep saying that because I bat 1,000 with this. I'll see if I feel like he listens to every show because he gives me some feedback when he doesn't agree with me. So, Zach, if you remember, I remember him a year ago being like every single time, like just sending me that tweet after like Kyle Farmer went deep off the Guardians. So it's Cole Calhoun should not be on this team, and he's going to then be their best hitter for the next month and a half because he's going to lead the team.
He's going to end the season with the lead in home runs for the team.
I mean, he's got a chance with this squad.
Yeah, I know.
Will they have anyone hit 23 home runs this year?
Jose's got what, 18?
18.
Cole Calhoun will have 23 home runs. Obviously, the best stretch of the season. I mean, the Dodgers are in the middle of a great August. The Guardians have been in the middle of a terrible August. So of course they win 8-3 on a random night, and the Dodgers have been like the hottest team in baseball this month too. So that figures. But guys had good at bats. Will Brennan hit the ball hard. That was good. They only walked twice, but whatever. And
this Dodgers team is kind of funny in a way because it is like retread city. For as much as people get mad at Cleveland and the Dodgers spend a lot, like David Peralta was an end of free agent, and he's 702 OPS. He's been fine, but Jason Hayward is having a great year for them, and he was
back Hernandez. They brought in
Rojas. I mean, this is
Rojas is only there because of Gavin Lux's injury.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Gavin Lux is is built of the same stuff as Daniel Espino. So we'll see if Gavin Lux can ever stay healthy. But yeah, I mean, you got Betson, Freeman, and Smith, and then even Muncy to a lesser degree, who's still producing.
200, wow.
And then boom, it is just James Outman's having a fantastic rookie year, but this is a weird lineup.
It is, but they're still one of the best teams in baseball, which is amazing. Yeah. Well, hey, when you have two guys that have scored 100 runs at the top of your order, that says something. So, I mean, and then Will Smith's pretty good, and then
yes,
yeah, it's been.
And Max Muncy's got an almost 800 OPS in spite of hitting 193.
I know.
Offensively productive, like he's Jack Cust with speed right now. Peak Jack Cust.
There was some other news. So that was a fun game. There was some other news today in the AL Central for the Guardians and other teams in the AL Central. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about just some other random prospect news coming up on Locked On Guardians. Got to make sure you get the right parts like Max Muncy or David Peralta or Cole Calhoun, just like you got to get the right parts for your car. For a championship team, it is all about making sure every player is the perfect fit, and it is the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors with eBay Guaranteed Fit. You can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to my garage and look for the green check to know it'll fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you're going to be back in the game in no time. After all, it is easy to bring home a win and get your car back on the road when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Revenge game part 2. Won't be Noah Syndergaard, but you can bet Cole Calhoun will be in the lineup. No, actually, Cole Calhoun probably won't. Well, I don't know. He might play. Clayton Kershaw goes Wednesday, so we'll find out. Probably Gabby Arias at first, but you can listen to the action on Sirius XM. When Cole Calhoun takes him deep, we want to listen to Tom Hamilton's call. Just search Guardians on your XM app. All right, Jeff, there was an interesting conversation before the game. Obviously, if you live under a rock and you didn't hear it, I'm going to go pull up the quotes here because I don't want to run with anything weird and misconstrue anything, because I think a lot of people have run with this quote and are assuming what's going to happen here with Tito. But there were some hints in his post-game or his pregame press conference on Tuesday about his future. Obviously, we've known for a while that the time is nearing the end for Tito. We don't know when, but it's nearing the end. He's essentially on a year-to-year contract at this point, or whatever it is. They're going to take it year by year. But he said he talked to Antonetti and Chernoff about the length about the future, because he doesn't want to put them in any bad kind of predicament. So they've had a lot of talks about moving forward. I think my whole career, like, players always have to come first. Remember him being in Birmingham and South Bend and thinking of players coming first in the organization. In my situation, would always take care of itself. I think to deviate from that now is wrong. So there's a time, and there'll be a time to answer any question there might be about what I'm going to do or not do. I don't think that's not because I don't ever want this. It can't be on me. I can't let it. The other part is I don't want to lie or fib. You've seen coaches leave, but they're always going somewhere. So if somebody asks them a question, no, an hour later they got a 6-year deal. I don't want to be like that. So just telling you that we're getting there, and there's just a time, I think, to do it appropriately. Some people are taking that as this is it for Tito. He's made cryptic statements before like this, and we've had comments like this in the past too. So I don't necessarily think that this is indicative of anything. It sure sounds like it. I mean, it could, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the end for him. But because we are getting close. But he just said a year ago that this young team winning energized him. And I'm sure this year has taken a lot out of him, because it hasn't been a great year. It's been a frustrating year. I mean, like I said, we're watching Cole Calhoun and Ramon Laureano and Noah Syndergaard play right now. That is not where this team wanted to be coming into the season. So that takes its toll too. And, there's always the health thing to take into consideration, which Tito always says. He always feels beat up because of his age and his health conditions. But I don't know. I'm not I'm not necessarily saying I think he's going to retire based on this statement, but we are getting close to the end here, and it wouldn't. Obviously, I don't think it should shock anybody if that is what it is. It's we've seen cryptic messages from him before that end up not having anything behind them.
Yeah, it's a very measured statement. That could go any number of ways. It is interesting with just how measured it is. A lot of words that come together. It is a tale of sound and fury signifying nothing. That is all there is to that. Like, it really has no meaning. It is just a lot of it's a word spaghetti on a page that could be pointed to say however you want to interpret it. We know he's getting older. We know there's health issues.
I would bet next month you probably hear one way or the other. Yeah. I think as the season starts to come to a close,
I don't know. I could see him being the guy who doesn't want to say anything till it's done. Like, I don't think he's the guy who necessarily wants that light on him of like, he doesn't want a goodbye tour. He doesn't want the Miggy, here's your guitar type of deal. That's not him.
No, and he just said he wants to make it all about the players too. So yeah, I would imagine he would like to go quietly. And obviously this isn't the season he wants to go out on, but I don't know. For him, it was always the health that would dictate it, right? It was always if he had the energy and the health to do it, and he knows he doesn't have, as much energy as he used to have doing this. But I wouldn't say any of those statements tell me it's a foregone conclusion. It's retiring. But with that being said, obviously a lot of people are kind of speculating, okay, if he does go, who takes over? There's a lot of names people are throwing out there. Kevin Cash, everybody wants Cash to come home.
Why would he leave?
Why would he leave Tampa Bay? I don't know. I think his contract is up at the end of next year, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. If he really wanted to leave, like we've seen Joe Madden leave before, we've seen other managers leave before. I think the Athletics let
go to the Padres.
Bob Melvin let him go. That was because the Oakland was trying to tank even more. They were going full Rachel Phelps, but I don't think Tampa Bay would let him go. That's the thing. Like, I think the Oakland let Bob Melvin go because they're trying to tank, and
I don't even think it was necessarily the tank. I think it was they didn't want to pay a vet manager, right? Like, let him go and save save money. It always comes down to dollar bills when it comes to
or maybe it was just respect that they knew they're going to be horrible and they didn't want to.
I think they just didn't want to pay him. John Fisher is.
Oh, that's true.
For as much as listen, again, people will accuse me of being an apologist when it comes to Dolan. I'm not saying he's a good owner. He's probably still one of the 10 worst owners in baseball, but it's hard to get in that bottom 5. And you got Dick Monfort, you've got John Fisher, you got Jerry. How about the fact that the Chicago White Sox have never given a $100 million contract? Like, I know they just fired that front office, but it won't matter because Reinsdorf is a huge cheapskate. You got Angelos in Baltimore. Like, baseball has
Artie Moreno, not good either.
Yeah. Baseball has the worst owners in sport, like, bar none. End of story. I know I've always wanted to work for a baseball team, and I just guarantee it's never going to happen. But
everyone. It's all based on the fact that it's the only non-salary cap sport, right? That's what it is.
And they don't. Then you've got other stupid. And the only thing you can find out is when Atlanta does, because they're publicly traded, you do get that information from the Braves that allow you to picture some points and things together.
Yeah, there was that brief time in the 90s. Remember when Dick Jacobs took the Indians public, and they briefly had an IPO out there, which I thought was interesting. But
I think it was like a slow one, so they didn't have to share any books or data with it. It was like not a full
really? Was
IPO.
It like the Green Bay Packers thing or something? Yeah.
Well, the Packers actually own a part. I'm not entirely sure. Like, somewhere you have stocks, but yeah, it was it was smart. It was a way to make.
Does anybody see the books on them? Does anybody know the Packers books?
I don't know. Publicly? I think. With the NFL, I think a lot more things are transparent with the cap and the thing, but and I think the only way we'll ever get transparency is if there is a cap, and it's a debate for another day. I think. If we have any getting it done.
I know people want to jump on the Kevin Cash thing. So if Tito were to go this offseason, you're not getting Cash because the Rays aren't letting him go, and he's under contract for one more year. Unless he really forces his way out, in which case you got to trade something. Which, if you're trading something to the Rays for Kevin Cash, guess what? It's just the Dolans trading somebody for cash, right? That's what it is. But you don't want to make another trade with the Rays, right? I don't know if they would go internal. Like, there's people who are out there like saying DeMarlo Hale, Sandy Alomar, who's been passed over twice, which I don't think he would
No, it's not going to be Alomar. I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be. I think it's going to be an outsider, just like when they went. And I know people do not listen. A year ago, Christopher Lake could walk on water. This year, people want to bury him like he's a witch. Isn't that like dunking? That was what it was with witches. They want to do dunking like he's a witch. But I think they will go outside.
It's not burning. There's two guys.
The water thing going.
There's two internal things. Two internal guys. I think. Yeah, and again, I don't want to speculate saying Tito's retiring because I don't think those statements necessarily are conclusive of anything. But the two guys that I look at on the inside, external, I haven't looked at the names, so I don't really know who they have a connection
Dave
to.
Roberts, he played outfield for him, right? He'll leave the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I think we'll have time to talk about it later in another date if this does come to fruition. Ooh, yeah, that's working out well for the Royals. I think I pegged Drew Saylor in the preseason as a rising coaching star, and
you did. That's why I'm being a jerk. So,
that was one of my big misses this year. Drew Saylor rising,
and that's the weird thing. Like I think unlike other sports, man, this stupid fly. Sorry, cat. You love to catch these. Come take care of it. But like,
trying to hear a conversation.
We don't.
It's an everydayer right there. They're guessing.
Trying to, but it's like how many. In other sports, I feel like we kind of know who the managers of the future are. It's like, who are the guys? Like, I don't know if we have that. No, here we go. This is who I want. I want Stubby Clapp from the Cardinals.
I think the Cardinals would be willing to. I think a lot of Cardinals fans would be willing to clear house to give you anybody you want. My two internal guys are Greg DeCenzo, who was the captain's manager for 2 years, and he is now the Clippers bench coach. He has a strong relationship with the director of player development, Rob Cerfolio. He tried to recruit Cerfolio as a college player to Holy Cross. So those two go back a little bit of ways. There's a connection there, especially if, Rob ever moves up the ranks in the system, which, I'm sure James Harris is going to be hired away this offseason finally, which he's probably deserved for a while. The other one's Luke Carlin, who was the captain's manager for years, was a catcher and has a good handle on player communication and translating data and analytics into player development improvement. So I think he has a handle on both sides of the things, the communication aspect and the analytics side of things. So that helps, but he obviously doesn't have any major league management experience, but he has managed in the minors and now he's a catching coordinator. So I think he's an option too, but I don't know. There's nothing conclusive to say right now. Like people are speculating this is going to be it, but
the one guy I will throw out there externally is George Lombard, former Yankees player whose son just got drafted, who is in town right now with the Dodgers, who has gotten a lot of reviews for his work with base running, outfield, hitting, things like that. Feels like the next one of those guys who could be one of the next guys to leave the Dodgers, in all fairness. Maybe.
Well, we know there's going to be a lot of new people in Chicago next season. Let's talk about the White Sox shaking it up when we return on Locked On Guardians. We know Terry Francona will be the manager on Wednesday, and he is sending Xavier Curry to the mound to face Clayton Kershaw. That should be a fun one. You can listen to all of the action on the hometown broadcast by searching Guardians on your Sirius XM app at 710. That was kind of out of the blue. I got to be honest that I saw the notification this afternoon that both Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams both fired from the White Sox. Ken Williams has been with the White Sox since the early 90s, late 80s. Like he's been around quite a while. I know he's been more of their VP for a little bit, but he has been there for a long time. He was a player in their system, right?
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about him was when he spent a third or second round pick on his son, who was totally not deserving of it. It's one of those, and again, I've talked about it on the show that people connected with the White Sox organization have been very kind and have said nice things about my work in the past. And I'm going to feel sad if they completely clear house. And the thing I'll say is, there were some issues with what was going on there. But again, Reinsdorf is terrible. Reinsdorf gave them La Russa and cut him off at the knees. Reinsdorf treats them like they're not in Chicago, like they're in, a Cleveland or Detroit or a smaller market. He runs them like a mid-market team, even though they're in Chicago. It's kind of crazy. He is a bottom 5 owner in sports, and the double whammy, like I said, double whammy of gets himself involved when he shouldn't, and then is cheap.
Yeah, you gotta do one.
They're not going to win as long as Reindorf's there, so it doesn't matter what they do.
And we were talking yesterday too about we're talking about ownership here, and the Browns have been perpetually bad. I'm not even going to listen to an argument about the Baker Mayfield year because whatever. A lot of that, and this is outside of baseball too. You set the tone for your organization by who is at the top. Crap rolls downhill. Well, the Browns are perpetually sad and dysfunctional because of who their owner is. And it's the same for the White Sox. It's the same with the Orioles are overcoming it right now, despite the fact they have an idiot for an owner. The Angels are a great example of this. They have a guy who just can't get out of his own way as an owner, and they have the two best players in the sport right now, and they can't win. They can't even get in the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. And I agree. The White Sox, it's been a perpetual rebuild. I mean, they had 2 playoff seasons, right? 2020 and 2021. They went to the playoffs both years. They didn't win a series. This was part of their big rebuild after trading Chris Sale and Adam Eaton and picking high for a couple of years. And they're just sitting there treading water for the last couple of years. They fell apart last season, even though Elvis Andrus said the Guardians would crumble this year. They both just were never fully baked. They didn't have anywhere to go.
Mushy on the inside.
Yeah. I mean, and their roster is just bad. Like, Moncada, I hate to say it, since he got COVID, I feel like he hasn't been the same. Eloy's constantly hurt. Luis Robert has had some health issues. Andrew Vaughn's a nice player. Grandal probably overpaid. Elvis Andrus is a Band-Aid. They have no farm system. I mean, who do you like in their farm system? I like Garrett Crochet is hurt. Colson Montgomery, I think, has
I like
a lot
Jacob
of really
Gonzalez,
nice
who they just drafted. I like a lot of their draft classes. Montgomery, I liked Wes Kath. I know that hasn't worked out.
My question here is
this. Etter was an interesting guy, though. Berger has played really well.
I did like getting Jake Eater back then, even though he's a
Noah Schultz is fun. Yeah,
I do like Noah Schultz. Okay, so their system's not like horrible, but
you like Nick Nastrini, didn't you?
Who's the Dodgers? Yeah. But anyway, the Dodgers trades away. It makes me question things because they usually don't trade good players away. But my question to you is this about the White Sox. They've cleared the front office, or they at least cleared the GM and the VP. I'm sure they won't be the last ones let go. I think that it's a 50-50 shot at the very least that the manager is going to be fired too. Do you think that a new regime coming in is going to clear house? Do they trade Luis Robert? Do they trade Eloy? Do they trade Grandal? Do they trade Dylan? They're going to trade Dylan Cease. I would almost be guaranteed they're going to trade Dylan Cease. But do they come in and do they clear house? Do they do a fire sale?
No, I think so. I think, which is, we didn't get to it in the episode we talked about, but eventually we'll talk about offseason where that's one of 5 teams they're going to be in potential fire sale mode. And that's
especially the reason
now. And that's what we're basically waiting to see is who else gets canned. Man, it's late, and I nearly added another word to that. So I'm just saying there was nearly the error one. I nearly said something other than canned. But
question going into the offseason is going to be, do you go after Luis Robert? Because he is almost likely to be traded.
But who trades in division? That is just an unwritten rule in baseball. Never happens.
If the White Sox are tearing it down, if their new regime comes in and
I don't think Cleveland has the piece to get him. Who are you going to trade him? Espino, who's hurt? I love Espino, but it's who they are shockingly low.
And the hard part about this is Luis Robert has never. This is the first season he's ever played more than 100 games.
Yeah, and
that's the hard part of this.
He has an inconsistent profile, so that could be. I don't think they would ever go after him because he could easily end up being a below average bat next year because he is the plus version of Oscar Gonzalez, right? He's more athletic,
right,
more power, but he'll have a year where. Again, the best outcome for Oscar Gonzalez is Salvador Perez, if you want to look over a career, where you can go see he had 40 bombs one year, and then he's got 3 years in a row where he's got a below league average bat. That is what that profile gives you.
All this is to say that, again, we said this yesterday, the division in 2024 is going to be winnable again because the Tigers are not quite there yet. The Royals are far away, and the White Sox are probably going to be tearing it down this offseason. So
the White Sox biggest contract ever was the one they gave Andrew Benintendi this offseason. That's the largest contract in the history of that organization.
Yeah. I mean, it usurps Edwin Encarnacion's deal, which was the largest for Cleveland until Jose Ramirez and Andres.
Well, no,
so.
but I mean, for the White Sox, like Benintendi is $75 million, but it's like the Cleveland is given $200 million contracts.
Right. They didn't do that till this last offseason. So,
but yeah, they are a weird team, and it's not going to get any better.
It's a bad organization.
Yeah, with we were at the top.
It's bad. I wanted to talk about prospects a little bit, but I think we could save that for tomorrow's show and talk a little bit about
Chase the Lauder,
Franco Aleman, Joey Cantillo. We meant to mention yesterday, Joey Cantillo is still pitching on the same day as Noah Syndergaard. However, he only last. Did we bring that up? Okay.
Yes, we did bring that up. We forgot the Rafi Velasquez talk. That's what we forgot.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So the Arizona Complex League season is over. Today was the last game for Complex Leagues, which is in Goodyear and then the Dominican Republic, which those last games got canceled due to, I think, a tropical storm coming. I'm not sure, but now it's going to be really interesting to see if Ralphie Velasquez or Jason Churio ends up getting any time in Lynchburg. They both should. I agree. You got to find playing time for them, but those guys are priorities. You should go out of your way to make playing time for them. There's nobody at those systems. Look, you don't got to play them every day if you put them there, but you got to give them, 2 or 3 days out of the 6 to play them to get them acclimated. You can make that happen. And the other thing I wanted to bring up too is that Kyle Manzardo played or had 4 at bats as the DH in Arizona today. And as I said, that season's over. So either Kyle Manzardo is going to go rehab in Akron or Columbus, or he might just go to Columbus because Akron's in Altoona and Lake County is in Beloit. So the only home team in the system is Columbus. So we could see Kyle Manzardo in Columbus very soon.
Do you think we see him before the end of the year in Cleveland? Because he would still be eligible for a draft pick if he gets healthy, and especially if Josh Naylor does not.
Yeah, if he goes to Columbus this week and plays early next week, I think you could see him as a September call-up. Why not?
Yep.
What could it hurt?
What I see is
got to get more at bats for Cole Calhoun.
You got to get more at bats for Cole Calhoun. Cut him. I'm just gonna keep bashing him because we know this is what works. Want to take a second and again thank all of you. Yesterday was a fantastic show with great responses. I really appreciate it. Keep doing all you do and go Guardians go.